Tomorrow, the only show on Indian television where you, the MSME, get center stage. This is ET&R's special daily initiative to give MSMEs and entrepreneurs the opportunity to be front and center on every industry and area that matters to you. We travel to 20 different cities across the country to connect better with you, the MSME entrepreneur. Tonight, we're bringing you highlights of a panel discussion that I did from the city of Raipur on transformation to a smart city. Here are some of the highlights from that panel. Thank you all very much for being here this evening. I see we have a lot of students, so I definitely anticipate a lot of questions. I will open it up for questions in just a bit. Thank you once again very much to the panel which is here this evening to talk about some of the changes that we're seeing as far as smart cities are concerned and some of the lessons that we can possibly learn. But before we even get into that, let me start by talking about what we mean by smart cities, and let me come to you on that, Vijay.
Imagine we have a smartphone, now we have a smart city as well. But if we look at the definition of smart city, what exactly is smart city? That smartness is, I should not say restricted, but it is limited to the aspirations of the people who live in that city. There are, though, I mean, having said this, there are 4 pillars. These are framework for a smart city, spreading across physical, institutional, social, and economic. So for example, just to have it in the Raipur context, when we say physical, we are a 226 square kilometers city, right? So ek jagah se dusri jagah we can reach in, we need to travel for 226 kilometers. That's one part of it. And it definitely covers much more. When we come to institutional part, we have government bodies, we have companies like my fellow panelist Rajeev, who are leading that part. On the social side, we have 1 million people, 10 lakhs. We have the most favorable sex ratio in the country. We are higher than national average. When it comes to literacy, we are higher than national average here as well. So that's social. And last but not least, economic. We definitely, as Raipur, have steel and rice as our major economy. So this is the large framework, and the government says that we can keep on adding layers of smartness to it, basis our requirement.
Let me then talk about one example that we have with us right here this evening, 36 Inc. And Rajeev, very briefly, if you can tell our audience what 36 Inc. is about.
36 Inc. is an incubator. It has been set up by the Chhattisgarh government and in collaboration with Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog has also been a major investor in this. It is a 30,000 square feet incubation space right in the middle of the city. It's coming up in City Center Mall in Pandri. It has all the latest facilities that one would want out of a modern age incubator. We have a fab lab with collaboration of MIT. We have an IoT lab. We have a drone lab. We have labs for multimedia, which includes AR and VR, and 300 seats. So we are currently incubating around 39 enterprises. Our idea is to incubate about 100 enterprises every year out of that facility. All
right. Let me come to you, Rajesh, and talk about the fact that you're an entrepreneur, of course, and if you can very briefly talk about, the industry that you're in here in Raipur and why perhaps it's the best place to be.
I am running an engineering college, a logistic park. Chhattisgarh is the most favorite industries base because of this centrally located. And the government is supporting like anything. Single window system, we are having a very good, reasonable facility, everything. I saw.
Okay, let's talk about something positive before we drill into what perhaps is not working. And I want to talk about the statistics. The big headline, of course, is that, and from reports I've been reading that suggest that of the 60 cities selected under the Smart City mission, only 3 have managed to complete projects, even if it's just one project. and Raipur is one of them. So let's just focus on the positives for the moment and talk about what perhaps Raipur is doing, which is ensuring that it's right up there with the others.
Without trying to trivialize the debate, I would like to compare the success of being in the top 3 in completion of projects to Sholay. And why I am saying this, because if Jay and Viru were the heroes, we have a collector and commissioner here, young people, who lead the team of Smart City. And they are the key factors for the success of projects in this thing. Add to that Thakur's enablers, which the government is playing the role of Thakur. We have a very energetic team which is running a customized smart city plan. Now it is not what the pillars that he is told. We have customized it to the local requirement and tried to make it smart, and that is the reason for the success.
Okay. As someone who's based here, someone who works so closely with companies, Rajeev, what do you think are some of the things that you hear from the companies which are here, from the startups, from the companies that you work with, that say that we perhaps would have liked to see this happening differently? Given, of course, that yes, Raipur has a good track record, but what more could we see?
I think we have to look at, again, the nature of industry over here. There's a lot of steel and a lot of rice, so agriculture. We do not have any major knowledge-based industry over here. So we do not have Infosys or TCS who have set up the centers. And we are eons away from having any of the product development centers of some of the MNCs coming up over here. That has been a huge gap in the economic scenario here in Raipur. And I think it's a matter of perception. So we have a IIT, triple IT, IIM, NIT, National School of Law, all of these in the same city, which I think is the only such occurrence anywhere in the country, in addition to an AIMS. So there are a lot of people being recruited from here, but none of them have found it very important to set up the bases, the production bases over here. So knowledge industry coming in at that level is certainly something which is required. It creates a lot of goodwill. It creates a lot of visibility for the city. And there are a lot of opportunities which come up just because, let's say, we have 10,000 knowledge workers in the city. So that is something which the city really needs.
Okay, so let me open this up then to the panel. 2 things out of what you've said. First is, how can that be fixed in terms of ensuring that there are more jobs being created here? And second, of course, is how can a local talent base be developed? What would you gentlemen have to say?
See, firstly, I think the forward and backward integration is possible here because there is a lot of industry and there are a lot of institutions like 36 Inc. which provide the skills. Having said that, the education in schooling, if we start skilling them or training them to be entrepreneurs from grade 8 onwards, it works better for people like Rajeev to be able to nurture them at an earlier stage.
I would like to add something over here. Some of our startups have been very, very forward-thinking in that particular direction. There's no point in Raipur becoming the next place for e-commerce or the app factory of the world. I mean, we already have a Bangalore and Mumbai doing that. So Blue Banyan, again a startup over here, is very focused on IoT applications in steel and mines and in heavy industries. That makes a lot of sense. This is where the market is. Similarly, we have a lot of edtech and startups focused on social causes, which is going to serve the purpose in the long run. We have had a very, very good history. Many of the people over here would know Bhilai, our sister city, which is just about 30 kilometers away, has the Sector 10 school, which is to contribute something like 10, 15 students every year to the IIT Top 100. So we have a very good crop. Unfortunately, the second level, when you talk about higher education, we just didn't have the draw in the city. So nobody stayed back here. Everybody went to Mumbai and then forgot to come back. So that has been bridged, I think, over the next few years.
So both of you have spoken on education. I'll just come back to that. But I want to continue talking about talent and talent availability. How can we ensure that there is adequate talent, especially given that you are still working with the existing structures? And I want to ask the two of you this from your own experience and you, of course, in your role as an advisor.
In the smart city ecosystem, they have figured out, including 36 Inc., that local talent would be identified and nurtured. Both these are very important. Till now, what we were looking at is talent from outside, and the perception was that it is better, whereas that was not the case. We needed nurturing, And that is started happening now. You will reap benefits about maybe 5 years from now, but the process has started. So now degrading of local talent has stopped. So I think this is the right time to take off, and then there will be opportunities available which we give to others, which we can give to our own.
It's time for a break. On the other side, though, we'll continue bringing you the highlights of a panel discussion that I did in Raipur earlier. Just stay tuned. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. And tonight on Direct Connect, we're bringing you highlights of a panel discussion that I did earlier in Raipur on transformation to a smart city. We had some of the biggest experts across industries bringing the weight to their panel. Take a listen to some of the highlights. All right. Let me then take some questions from our audience. If you have a question, please do maybe raise your hand, and can I request that you identify yourself and also whom the question is for?
Maybe my question may be to anybody. I am Professor Vinay from IIM Raipur. My question is very simple. You know, everybody is talking about the licensing or contract or tender, but Chhattisgarh basically is known for the manufacturing. So maybe Rajiv or Mr. Agrawal will be very keen to answer this question. And I nowhere in any type of conference listen that there is any type of incubating or entrepreneurship help being provided to students for coming up with small manufacturing startup. I'm really surprised with the power surplus state, a lot of raw material availability. Why there is not such maybe 36 Inc. Why they are not helping students?
We are not against somebody who is going to come up with a solution in the manufacturing side of things. In fact, two of our incubatees are working on ideas which are very much to do with agriculture more than anything else. So we are looking at primary industries. But I think a lot of people have also realized that given the economies of scale and scope which some of the manufacturing centers of the world are able to come up with, it doesn't make too much of financial sense on a personal level to get into manufacturing. So they are reluctant to get into that sector, even though we do not have any bias against it. And I probably agree with them. I mean, what you can probably make at 10 rupees here can be made for about 3 rupees in Guangzhou with a 50 paisa cost of getting it over here. Then somebody is a little scared of getting into that particular level of manufacturing. So I think that is what is stopping them at an individual level. But we are not biased against them. We would more than welcome somebody who says that we want to manufacture something physical. We find that to be far more attractive for our incubator than for somebody who says that we are going to make the next big app which is going to help Dudwalas.
All right. Any other questions?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. B.C. Jain from Kriti Institute of Technology and Engineering. You know that transforming to a smart city needs smart people, competent people. And we have a pool of colleges here. And most of the industries, they are facing this problem. They need competent people. Hardly 30% people are employable. 30% engineers are employable. Is there some way to bridge the gap between the industry and institute to enhance the competency of the students?
We speak about this quite often, in fact, on Leaders of Tomorrow, that a NASSCOM survey said only 25% of students coming out of colleges have the requisite skill sets. What do you do?
Professor, it's okay if you say that the industry is not entertaining us, or they say that the curriculum is outdated. Yes, there is a requirement for industry and institution partnership, but the hand of the institution also has to go. You can't just expect the industry to come and take your students while you don't deliver what the industry requires. So at the university level, there is some partnership going on, but Chhattisgarh is slightly behind in, I have to confess. Having said that, it is not just what the industry requires or why this dismal percentage of 25% is employable is not because of that reason. What Rajiv said is the aptitude and attitude. You will find that thinking processes are not activated in our students when they go out of college. They might be technically very sound, but the corporate doesn't find them flexible enough to suit the needs of the corporate, which is fast changing, faster than the institutional change. So that match of change between the institution and the corporate is not matching as of now. So we have proposed to the Ministry of HRD that there should be an art of thinking session for all students. Technical knowledge is okay, but the students are not able to think. And that is where we find that a lot of incubations that come to us come with that bhed chal, that everybody is doing it, so I will also do it.
Let me bring it back to our panel for closing comments. First and foremost, we didn't get the opportunity to hear from you earlier, Rajesh, in terms of the quality of students coming out into our workplaces. How can that be fixed? I know it's not a simple solution. I know it's not something just one institution perhaps is going to be able to fix. What is the big picture in terms of how this can be fixed?
In Chhattisgarh, people are, the basic Chhattisgarhiya people are, they are very, very lenient people. They don't want to go very high, very thing. So say they are not at all very much interested in doing manufacturing or this. They want that हमें एक job दिला दो अच्छी सी. That is what.
So it's definitely not a simple solution. I want to play devil's advocate here and take forward the point that one of our audience members was making, that we're still at a stage where most of India is still developing. We're not yet developed. Is it right for us to have an ambition to say, I mean, we don't still understand concepts like, say, for instance, virtualization, AI, IoT, etc. Should we be fixing those problems first before we can think of smart cities, or do you think they both need to go hand in hand?
Both can go hand in hand, and the smart city concept that we have in India has factored this, that there are backward places, there are places which can go forward. They have factored this. Basically what the smart city concept that we have in India is all things for all people. So we will have to factor the old, the young. It's not just jobs alone. It's not just technology alone. It's infrastructure. Everything, all things for all people is the single sentence that a solution a smart city should give. And that is the way forward.
Okay. My question to you is, a report that I was reading, Vijay, it suggested that of the 9,860 crores which have been released to the 60 cities under the Smart City project, only 7% has been utilized so far. One, what perhaps in your mind is the biggest bottleneck? And two, I understand that a major portion of the money has to be raised by the cities themselves, which they're saying they're not in a position to do. Do you think that perhaps is the right approach?
So, if you look at the horizon of a smart city, I mean, it's not just changing your clothes. It's building an infrastructure. It's building a mindset. So when we are talking about IoTs, we are talking about technology, those things still happen faster. But when it comes to people, it takes a while. So if at all this project has taken 7% as a standalone number might sound small, but as a standalone number, it's huge. Of 60,000 crores, if you take 7%, it's a substantial number.
All right. Rajeev, my question to you, and I want to look at the example of Jamshedpur. It's not one of the smart cities that's been selected, but I understand in terms of being able to use some of these cutting-edge technologies like IoT, etc., it's far ahead of most cities. Do you think there are some of these examples that we can perhaps learn from?
Okay, incidentally, Jamshedpur city is the place where I was born, and the city I go back to very regularly. Jamshedpur has certain advantages and certain differences compared to other cities in India. Adding to what Vijay said, the smart city project is not just about implementing projects. There are some steps which come ahead of that. You have to form an organization. The organization has to do its own planning. A DPR or a plan is an asset for the organization. If you hurry upon it, you are likely to go wrong right now or maybe in the future. So the early days have gone into that bit of planning. Cut and paste is probably not going to work. Each city is different, and a solution has to be found for every city. So I don't think that we have to get very worried about the lack of pace right now, as long as the pace picks up. I think the great bones have been laid for this entire infrastructure project. And the coming times will tell us how exactly it is being implemented. But I think it has been a good start.
All right, gentlemen, thank you all very much. Rajesh, Jawahar, Vijay, Rajeev, thank you all very much for your time this evening. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much once again for your time with us this evening. That's our show tonight. If you want to know where we're heading to next, or you have any suggestions about some of the things discussed on the show, you can always write to us. We love hearing from you. Our email ID is leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com. On social media, you can tweet at me directly. Sunanda_J is my Twitter handle. Our official Twitter handle is LOT_ET Now. You can also reach us on our Facebook page, Leaders of Tomorrow on ET Now. Thanks very much for watching. Have a good night.